Welcome. Thank you so much for attending our very first virtual graduate and professional school Expo. My name is Kelly Zatorsky, and I'm the manager of careers and experiential learning in Careerspace at Trent University. So for those of you that don't know, Careerspace is provides an authentic outlook on the career landscape by providing our Trent students and alum, both undergraduate and graduate, with meaningful experiences, some really important perspectives, and some valuable resources. So our services include appointments, virtually, workshops, online resources, and opportunities like this to connect with employers and recruiters. And these services are all free for Trent students, which is a question that we often do get. So I will put up a link to our website in the chat so that you have access to trentu.ca/careerspace. So we're super thrilled to have Rubina here from the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine. And just before I get going, a few bits of housekeeping. Rubina, if you can put your email into the chat as well, just so that contact information is shared. We're going to go through, Rubina's going to go through a presentation, and we'll allow for some Q&A after if there is any. And feel free to use the Q&A along the bottom or the chat window as well. And we will be recording this session, so it'll be shared to our to the Careerspace page, and I'll be sharing it with Rubina so she can share as well. So without further ado, I will hand it over and go ahead and introduce yourself, Rubina.
Thanks so much for having me today. So I'll be going through our DVM curriculum for those of you interested in veterinary medicine. And I will leave also my email address is in the chat section, but also the last slide will also have it so you can take a screenshot if you'd like. It's also here at the bottom left of the screen too. So today we'll be going through the academic program, a little bit about life in St. Kitts, and then the admissions process. At Ross University, we do have a huge emphasis on the One Health trend that is in medicine right now, keeping healthy people, animals, and environment, and bringing that all together. Few quick things about Ross. We are AVMA accredited, and that means that we're recognized throughout North America. That means when you're shopping for vet schools, you should look for that accreditation just so that it makes your life a little bit easier on returning to Canada to practice. We are a US owned and operated school. We happen to be based in St. Kitts, but our head office is in New Jersey. So we are part of that North America program and that recognition piece as well with that AVMA accreditation. That alleviates any need to come back and jump through additional hoops, take extra exams, do extra clinical practice. None of that needs to take place. You would come back to Canada, get your provincial licensing as if you graduated from Guelph, and then you're good to go to be able to practice. We have a huge network, almost 6,000 graduates from our program. We have a new international student pricing. So I'll go through that because that heavily benefits our Canadian students specifically, especially we have so many students coming from Ontario. So we wanted to make sure there's a solid incentive price plan in place for them to be able to make it a very feasible option. We'll look at the maps for the accredited clinical partners, and I'll explain a little bit more about that when we go through the timeline. Once you have the DVM from our program, you're eligible to practice in all 50 states, Canada, and Puerto Rico. And then we'll have a quick peek at our high-tech facilities and what's involved there as well. So with our program, it is 10 semesters long. You would graduate in 3.25 years, which kind of deviates a little bit from what you see in traditional schools. The reason being is we do 3 semesters per year instead of 2. So you would do September, January, and May. You would get 2-week breaks in between semesters and 3 weeks at Christmas time. Semesters 1 to 7 would be completed in St. Kitts, and then you would choose your clinical school for the last year, which is semesters 8 to 10, when you would also write the NAVLE exam. You would obtain your license, your DVM, and then your provincial license to be able to practice. So we have a beautiful large animal facility, over 500 animals on campus. So you have lots of opportunities and lots of diversity and variety to get different types of hands-on experience with animals that you may not get to work with in Canada even. So with our clinical skills and communications labs, they start very early on. So it's a lot of complementary learning where it's not just lecture-based or theory-based for a number of years. It's actually right from semester 1. I sat through a day 2 lab. They had large animal restraint practice happening right away. So day 2 is as day 1 as you can get, but they do start right away so that you're learning and applying the skills that you're learning right away, building it into your muscle memory so you're really ready to go for your clinical year. We have an AHA accredited clinic on campus where our 7th semester students are completing rotations for Ross community pets. We have the animal welfare lab accreditation as well. So a little bit about St. Kitts. There's probably a population of about 40,000 people, same as the number of monkeys you'll find there. It's a shared space. It's a rabies-free island. It's perfectly safe. Just don't leave your sandwich out. St. Kitts is located really close to, I guess Puerto Rico is kind of a good um, point to say this is where it's from. You can get there from Miami, Atlanta. There are some direct flights from Toronto and Montreal. So you could, at most times of the year, be able to fly directly, but if not, then you would fly through Miami. It's kind of like the main point where people would go. So once you arrive on the island, you would be, oh, it's an English-speaking country. You drive on the wrong side of the road. And there's a sister island as well called Nevis. So if you are happening to be there, whether for vacation or school, make sure you check out Nevis too, because it's really beautiful. So once you arrive at the airport, a welcome committee will greet you and take you to your housing. So we typically encourage our students to live on campus for the first semester. We do have an incentive for the housing piece as well for our Canadian students, which I'll talk about once we get to that pricing. And then just a couple pictures here to show you what the off-campus housing looks like. Just so that if you do choose to live there, we have a housing committee that helps you work with all that. You don't have to negotiate rents with landlords and figure out any of those pieces. It's fully furnished places. You just come with your personal belongings and then you're ready to go. So throughout the 7 semesters, you can have an opportunity to join a lot of our clubs. We have more than 25 clubs, which will offer anything from recreation to additional surgery experience, zoo clubs, wildlife, conservation, running, scuba diving, sea turtle conservation, like all kinds of things. A business club, it's probably our busiest one actually. If you do a certain number of hours with our business club, you get BBMA certified. And that's where you have a lot of speakers that come from all over the world, speak to you about running your own business, because that might be a future goal for some of you. We have a pause club where there's a lot of fostering, adopting animals, rehoming them, running clinics for them, surgery clubs. Most of our clubs are run on a point system. The more you participate, the more you unlock new levels and opportunities. So, as much as you don't have to be the president of 6 clubs, do participate, because it's 1,100 people on campus, lots of like-minded things happening. So you will find areas of interest with your friends, or things that you've been curious about and will be able to join. If it doesn't already exist, you can also create it too. So with Thrive, this is a program that's been around for a little bit now. It's still relatively new, but it's something that we've built into the curriculum. We really do believe in health and well-being and overall balance. So bringing in spiritual, physical, emotional, financial, intellectual well-being all around is kind of a big goal at Ross. So there's a lot of resources dedicated to that. We also have a student success center if you are looking into mentorship, tutoring, psychologist, maybe you're just feeling homesick, you always have someone to talk to and go to really create that balance. And then it's built into the curriculum as well, because we know that veterinary medicine is a very demanding career, and you need to know how to cope and have those strategies for the future as well. So you would complete your 7 semesters in St. Kitts for your preclinical studies. In your 6th semester, you're going to interview with the Associate Dean of Clinical Affairs. They're going to ask you why you're choosing a certain place for your clinical location. And then in your first week of 7th semester, you're going to submit your top 4 choices of where you would like to go for your final year. And by 3rd week of 7th semester, you would be placed in one of those 4 choices. Rarely do we go outside of those 4. These are the US options. So a lot of our Ontario students do stick to Northeast USA just because that's closer to home for them than Saskatchewan or University of Montreal, where you can only go if you speak French. So that then Northeast USA becomes a big hub for our Ontario students to be able to use those schools. I really suggest staying open-minded when you're choosing a clinical school. Some people will say, I really love equine medicine. I know Texas has a great program. Whereas others will say, I just want to go close to home. How can I get as close to home as possible? So be open-minded. Once, you might think of one place going in, and then when you're there and you have a different experience and you've lived away from home and changed countries, you might feel a little bit more resilient and say, hey, if I could live on an island, I could probably live in any of these places and actually go and take an adventure. So there are options in Canada that you can use. And then another side of popular options becomes, the Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand. Some people are like, just get me as far away from home as possible. So you have lots of options to choose from, and you always get placed for your clinical year. Quick note about the faculty. Our faculty have created a very collaborative environment for our students. So that's a trickle-down effect from them, because once you get to the island, you have a big island family that includes faculty. It's not just, here's my professors Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or this 1 hour and that one office hour. It's not like that. You're going to see them at grocery stores. You're going to play volleyball and soccer with them on the beach after school. You're going to see them at brunch on Sunday. They're having brunch with their friends. You're doing it with yours. And you might end up combining tables just because it's one big family. So because they've created that two-way success street as well, as much as it is your responsibility to approach them and say, hey, I don't feel like I'm doing as well in the class. I need more resources. What can I do to succeed? They will also approach you and say, hey, we feel like you can be doing better. What resources do we need to give you to help you succeed? So there really is that two-way investment into your success. And because they've created that, it kind of trickles down to our students, where it doesn't become a cutthroat environment then, where I hope you fail so I keep your seat kind of thing. It's very much nobody's from St. Kitts. How do we make this the best experience possible? Go back and be the best vets we can be and contribute to our field. So it's a whole different level of collaboration. The faculty will refer to you as future colleagues, never as under them or less than them. So that's a really neat experience that they've created, and it really shows when our students are working together for each other's success and making the best experience possible. And our faculty are from all over the world, some of the best humans I've ever met. Even though they're in St. Kitts and I'm in Calgary, Alberta, I still have a desire to talk to these people all the time, just because they are such fantastic humans and they come with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. And we're very lucky to have them and that they're sharing that experience with us. Most of them have been to school in several places, lived in several places around the world, taught at several places, and now they've brought all of that global experience to St. Kitts to give that global experience to our raw students. So very nice to have that. Quick list here of our research opportunities. There's so many different ways to get involved in research. You can complete a Master's of Science degree side by side with your DVM if you would like. It only takes one additional semester, and then you could graduate with both. We have a Master's of One Health program, which we talked about before, a certificate program as well, which you can take credits from that and apply it to a Master's of One Health later if you feel like, you're not ready for that commitment right now, but maybe want to get your feet wet and then try it out, and then maybe you love it. And then for research, we have so many different opportunities. There's a list here, but you should always check back on our website, because depending on the grants that we have, those projects are changing. But I know they just finished up some work with dolphins. We've had, Zika virus and other mosquito-borne illnesses that we've been studying. There's some overpopulation of monkeys. They work with farmers. Just so many different areas that are happening. You could just do a certain number of hours per semester and get paid a stipend for that. You could do it on a voluntary basis or through the clubs. So there's so many different ways to get involved in research if that's something that you're interested in. So with One Health, I did talk a little bit about that already, the certificate program, the master's, and then of course we have the Masters of Science by Research and PhD programs available. All right, so getting into the admissions, I'm trying to stay on time here. So with admissions, you can apply through our website or through VEMCAS. For those of you not familiar with VEMCAS, it's the Veterinary Medical Central Application System. Mostly US students are using that because they're applying to a number of schools, whereas Canadian students are typically applying to their one provincially allocated school and then maybe a couple of international options or US options. That's somewhere where you would put your application one time and then tick off the schools you want to apply to, and then your application would be sent to those schools. Typically, we do ask for the graduate record exam. So that exam is offered at all testing centers that offer the LSAT, the MCAT, the GMAT. It is not a science-specific exam. It's a general GRE. It is optional for the 2021 cycle. So if you're applying for this upcoming January or May cycles or September, then you don't have to take the GRE. I'll talk a little bit about why January and May have that incentive involved, so that it might be beneficial to apply outside of a fall semester. Once you complete your application through our website or VEMCAS, I will remind you that VEMCAS is only open May to September, so outside of that time frame, you want to apply just through our website. You can always open your application. It's open 1 year in advance of any semester you want to attend. You can actually just open it up, put in your basic information, not look at it for a couple months, but that way you get to scroll through, see what documents you need to start gathering, especially now because we're ramping up to vet med applications. November, December is kind of the season for it in Canada. So you can always just open it up, and as you're gathering documents for other schools, you can actually just put them into your ROS application as well. And that way you know it's there and it's being held and we have a file to put it so it doesn't get lost in the abyss anywhere. And that way, if you do choose to submit, then all your documents are ready to go. You can also submit your application even if it's incomplete. What we do is it will trigger us to let us know this person's trying to apply for January or May or September, and it will help us get you there on time on your timeline. So we can actually reach out to you and say, hey, we have these 4 things, we're missing these 2. What do you want to do about that? So even if you submit and it's incomplete, it's not going to hurt you. So January, May, September, those are the 3 start dates. We have rolling admission. So as long as we have seats available in that semester and we can physically get you to start, we will keep on accepting students until then. So we still have some room for January, room for May. September tends to fill up very quickly. Lots of people want that traditional start, but typically we're full by February or March because our US students get their decisions for vet schools very early and have to put their deposits down by April. So typically they're taking up all the seats for September, and by the time a Canadian students get their decision in May or June and want to jump on board, we're waitlisting them into January anyway. So January is the most popular semester for our Canadian students to attend. So this is going to look really similar to what you're used to seeing when applying to Canadian schools. We have tried to align it with our Canadian schools to make sure that we're not off by so many courses, and it also aligns with the US schools as well that we work with. So 2 semesters of biology, that's general bio, 1 and 2 with labs, general chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry, physics, cell bio or genetics. It can be one or the other. If you have both, we'll take the higher grade. Math only requires statistics or calculus. If you have both, we'll take the higher grade. English can be an English composition course or any heavy writing component course. So if you had, let's say, a history or social work course that had a paper that was more than 30%, so one of your papers was more than 30% of your grade, then we can use that. And then the electives, it says 9 semester credit hours. It's 3 electives is what they're looking for. One of the electives does have to fit into our prerequisites. You'll see a list on our website of what those categories should be. It says humanities or social sciences. So there we can take anatomy, physiology, nutrition, medical terminology, business, Spanish or another language. There's a number of courses that will meet that criteria, so you just need one of the electives to meet that. So we are a holistic application process. We do look at the GPA score, but it's not everything to us. Typically, the average GPA for acceptance is 3.0 to 3.2 on a 4.0 scale. That's an average, not a minimum. So if you're having questions about that and that's where you're really feeling not sure, please do reach out to me and let me know. We can set up an advising session and see about the strength of your application and whatnot. And we look at all of these areas. So it's not just going by GPA anyways, so don't even panic. The GRE, like I said, it's optional for 2021. The typical score is 300. If you do choose to take it, some people say, yeah, I'm really strong at testing. I'm going to go ahead and take the GRE so it strengthens my application. That's great. For 2021, it doesn't hurt to not have it though. So that's one step you could avoid if you wanted to apply now. Competitiveness of undergrad school is mostly a US system based on selectivity criteria for the undergraduate program that you attended. Canadian schools are looking pretty standard, so we don't go by that. Letters of recommendation, you need 1 DVM, 1 academic. So the academic one we prefer comes from a science professor or any member of faculty, but not a TA or lab instructor. So it can be anyone you've done research with. Maybe you had a really good relationship with one of your profs and you went to them for help, or you attended office hours regularly or additional sessions that they held. And that would be a great place to get that from. They should be able to speak to your academic ability, your work ethic, and recommending you for vet school. The DVM letter is going to come from a vet that you've worked with. A lot of people say, well, I have a tech that I shadowed with side by side. The vet knew I was there, though. We need the letter from the vet, the DVM you've worked with, even if they were just aware of what you were doing. But they, again, would be commenting on your work ethic, abilities as a vet student, recommending you for vet school, and letting us know that you have a very realistic perspective of what vet med looks like. You don't want to move to an island, think you know vet med, and then realize you're not cuddling cats all day. So make sure you have some realistic experience, clinic, hospital, emergency side, zoo, medicine, wherever you can get that from. Maybe it's just shadowing or tagging along with a large animal vet farm to farm, and that's fine too. Typically, we look for about 150 hours of veterinary medicine experience. I get a lot of questions about, I have 1,000 hours working at a shelter socializing cats. That would work as animal experience, but not for that 150-hour DVM experience. So again, this is ensuring that you have realistic expectations of the vet med profession that you're about to embark upon. So the personal essay, it's typically about 300 words. There's 3 questions. They're outlined in the application. So you'll be able to complete those. And then the personal interview would be with myself or another Canadian representative. And we would go through the interview. It's not MMI format. It's not a panel interview. It's more of an interview of best fit. So as much as we want to choose you for Ross, you have to be able to choose us. So come with your questions ready and make sure it's a good fit for you. Ask the questions that will help you determine if it's a good choice of school for you, and we'll be doing the same. Typically, we're going through academic history, professional work experience history, a lot less behavioral questions, and then we'll just dive into depth with your experiences so far. So on decision day, what happens is after the interview, your file will get sent to the review committee. Not everyone that applies gets an interview, so that's a huge step first, and not everyone that gets interviewed gets accepted. On decision day, we would have a decision back from the review committee. Everything is case by case at Ross, so they would have made that final decision for you. Either you get accepted, you get the semester you want, everything is great. If you get denied, we do not stop talking to you. We will tell you what you need to improve on your application very specifically, should you choose to do that, and then reapply or get a re-review done. Sometimes it's just a matter of one step that you need to take to improve that. And then the vet prep program is another option. So that takes place before the DVM. It's more of a DVM foundation program, and it gives you a sneak peek into the upcoming 7 semesters that you'll be seeing. So it's kind of a foundation program rather than going to upgrade prerequisite courses, taking half a year or a full year to do so, and then trying again. That just gives you your direct 4-month path to the DVM. So our tuition, typically if you apply in the September semester, you would pay a total of $208,000 US and change, and you don't get any housing or any of those costs included. However, if you apply in January or May as a Canadian or student coming from outside the US, you would get this new price plan, which is only $172,000 US, so a $36,000 US discount. And we would include housing for the time that you're in St. Kitts. So COVID aside, if you were to spend whichever semesters you would for your preclinical studies in St. Kitts, your housing would be free, so you don't tack on additional costs. So this can save you up to $28,000 US. So if you just don't apply in September, you're going to save about 75,000 Canadian dollars. So that looks closer to about, after exchange, on a regular exchange rate day, about 225,000 Canadian, which looks very competitive compared to a lot of US and international schools. So if you are shopping out that way for vet schools, do make sure you look into that. And I have lots more information about this piece, so do reach out to me if you want to hear more about it and dive into some details. If you want to set up an advising session, just go through an application, or you just have some general questions, please do feel free to reach out to me. You can always go to our website and have a look at our application. Nothing bad happens if you just hit the apply now button, look around. Even if you don't touch it for 3 months, it's not going to hurt you. But that way it gives you some questions that might trigger you to contact and reach out and ask those questions early, so that we can sort it out together, because you don't have to be alone. It's 100% my job to get you to vet school. So don't be shy. I'm in Calgary. It's my 403 number there, and I'm always awake according to everyone in Ontario. So do feel free to reach out. I'm in Mountain Time, and I'm very flexible with communication, evenings, weekends as well, if that's the only time you have. So don't be shy about reaching out. And thank you so much for hearing me out today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rubina. We've actually come to the end, but there are 2 questions here. So I wonder if we could spend just maybe 30 seconds on each. So one was, great session. Just wondering about research ethics. Is there recommended prep before I become a student?
So research ethics.
Is there any recommended prep for them to, like, is any education or anything they need to know about ethics before applying or even attending?
So there is a little bit, but our research coordinators are the best people. So if there's contact information, I can actually loop them in and have those conducted, because there are some things that need to happen, but I'm not able to go into those details directly right now. So I'd rather it come directly from the source. So
no problem. So I would encourage the student that asked the question to reach out to Rubina, and you can make the connection there. And then the other question was just wondering how closely faculty and students work together.
Oh, very closely. So because it's an island family, it's more than an open door policy. You're going to see these people everywhere. There's like 5 places you can go on the island. So everyone knows each other by first name and is on a very social basis as well as professional and academic. So these are people you have very strong relationships with and lifelong relationships with. So there's a very intricate balance there that takes place, and it's just beautiful to watch. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's great to hear. Ravina, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sharing all this information. I think that it was incredibly informative. And I think that the students probably got what they were looking for out of it, but also we have recorded it, as I mentioned, so we'll be sharing the link and it will be posted on our website, and I'll share that with you as well. So thanks again. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time.